Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the National Hockey Now Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by National Hockey Now. Friday, January 20th, Ian Cameron with you. Alex B. Smith, I'm thinking he might be in some back pain because he had some at the end of the show today, so he might be sitting this one out. It is a short card. One person not sitting this one out today, Jimmy Murphy, who is on with us on Fridays most of the time throughout the season. Last couple of weeks, he's been under the weather, and then, of course, we had the Christmas and New Year's holidays, and we had a little break, but it's going to be good to have Jimmy Murphy back. He'll be joining me on the show in just a few minutes. We'll get some thoughts from him, not just on the two games tonight, but we'll look ahead to some Saturday games with him, some thoughts there. We'll also get some thoughts from him on the NFL divisional playoffs, because if you follow Jimmy Murphy on Twitter, at Murphy's Law 74, he made some bold predictions as far as the NFL divisional playoffs are concerned this weekend, saying that the Jacksonville Jaguars will upset the Kansas City Chiefs and the Dallas Cowboys will upset the San Francisco 49ers. So we're going to give Jimmy the chance to basically, explain himself. What do you see in those two teams? So that'll be fun to hear as well when Jimmy joins us on the show. Plus the Bruins. We'll definitely talk some Bruins as well with Jimmy, the team, of course, that he covers on a daily basis. And check out his work at Boston Hockey Now. In fact, we've been partnered with National Hockey Now for a long time here on this show all season long, and we haven't promoted their sites enough. You really should be using nationalhockeynow.com. I mean, and they have just really good info from a bunch of different teams. They have individual team sites on the nationalhockeynow.com website, Pittsburgh Hockey Now, Boston Hockey Now, which our own Jimmy Murphy is a part of, Colorado Hockey Now, Florida Hockey Now, San Jose Hockey Now, New York Islanders Hockey Now, Vegas Hockey Now, Philly Hockey Now, Washington Hockey Now, Detroit Hockey Now, Vancouver Hockey Now, Toronto Hockey Now, Calgary Hockey Now, Montreal Hockey Now, and LA Hockey Now. So again, more and more teams being added and eventually, I know that Dan Kingerski, who runs National Hockey Now, they want to get to all 32 teams on the site. So definitely take a look. It's really good coverage. It's beat writers, it's reporters, it's people that follow these teams every single day throughout the season, and they give you plenty of good insight, quotes, up-to-date information. So definitely keep an eye, check it out, nationalhockeynow.com. Again, great info for all the teams that have their individual sites there. All right, let's look back on last night for a little bit before we get into the two games here on the Friday slate. And it was a busy Thursday night. Obviously, that show was a marathon yesterday, and thanks to Luke Sanko, our special guest as well, for being with us yesterday. But Thursday was a busy night. We saw let's get the bad games out of the way, or the games that are involving the bad teams, I should say. Anaheim with a 5-3 win against Columbus. Wouldn't you know it, right? The Ducks finally find a way to get a victory, come back from a 3-0 deficit to beat the Jackets 5-3 last night. Another rough night for Elvis Merzlikins in net, but give the Ducks credit, bouncing back and ripping off 5 straight goals in that game after the 3-0 deficit. Trevor Zegras really is starting to heat up a little bit as well for the Anaheim Ducks. If you look at his recent games, he's really played well for this team. 3 goals and 5 points in the last 4 games for Trevor Zegras, who, I guess early in the season was going through some troubles, but starting to get things back on track for the Anaheim Ducks. Anaheim definitely is capable of scoring. It's that defensive play and goaltending that you still concern yourself with. Chicago, I mean, I was stunned as someone that lost a bet with over the total in this game, stunned to see the Flyers get held down by Peter Mrazek and the Blackhawks at home. But they did, and they lose 4-1 to Chicago. An upset win for the Blackhawks, plus 190 road underdogs. That was the big question for me. Was I didn't feel comfortable, obviously, laying a price like that with Philly, but Chicago hadn't shown me a whole lot of ability to win on the road. But boy, they got the job done last night with that 4-1 win against the Flyers. Florida 6-2 against Montreal. They take advantage of massive penalty trouble for the Canadians in the second period, and that's when the game unraveled for Montreal. 5-0 in the second for Florida, and they end up winning 6-2. A lot of nastiness in that game. Radko Gudas, again, and I saw him do this against Toronto as well, the game before, where he submarined a guy and basically tried to take his legs out, went for the knees, went for the the kneecap of someone, and he did it again last night against the Montreal Canadiens. And dangerous play. Arbor Jacki, the rookie, had something to say about Gudas after the game, saying, I don't know what the hell he's doing out there. Yeah, I know what he's doing out there, Arbor. He's trying to injure people. That's what he's doing. And he's got to stop, because he's now had a track record of suspensions in the past. We now know that it's not beneath him to start looking for, hit people below the waist, and go for the kneecap is vicious, and he did it against Toronto. Fortunate the Leaf player, I think it was Engvall, wasn't hurt. And then last night he did it again. He targeted another player on the Montreal Canadiens. So, and that's a shame. This guy is a big guy. He's physical. He's strong. He can drop the gloves. He can handle himself. He's a very tough son of a gun. You don't need to be doing that shit. You don't need to be going for someone's knees. Not at all. And he's got to knock it off. Simple as that. Because he's a guy that's obviously can handle himself physically. He doesn't need to be resorting to dirty ass fucking tactics like that. So very, very upsetting to see him do shit like that. And that's 2 games in a row that he's done it for the Florida Panthers. Carolina 5-2 win against the Minnesota Wild last night. Bounce back for them after losing to Vancouver at home over the weekend. Minnesota, on the road, obviously a tough night for them. And Carolina, like I said, a bunch of different contributions from the Hurricanes in that game. This Jalen Chatfield's been a nice find for them on the blue line. He scores a goal. Marty Necas does his thing again. They get goals from Burns and Shea. The blue line chips in offensively. The big news from that game was, man, Max Pacioretty it's just unfortunate now for him. Another injury. I mean, he just got back, 4 games back for the Hurricanes. And here he is again, out due to injury for the Carolina Hurricanes. And gosh, you feel bad for him, right? I mean, he's just suffered a bunch of injuries the last few years, hasn't been able to stay on the ice for a relatively lengthy period of time, and we're seeing more of the same now following last night's injury. And the Hurricanes didn't waste any time either. They placed him on injured reserve. So you can tell this is going to be a situation that is not going to be a short term for Max Pacioretty. Is going to undergo an MRI for this lower body injury that he suffered last night on Monday. So we're probably going to know a little bit more. He's dealing with swelling. It looks like an extended absence. At this point, it isn't clear if this injury is related to the Achilles injury that Pacioretty suffered, which ended up needing off-season surgery in August, which is why he was out for so long to begin this season. So very unfortunate, obviously, for Max Pacioretty, and we'll see how significant and how lengthy this absence is for him following the injury suffered last night against Minnesota. We saw the Toronto Maple Leafs, a 4-1 win over the Winnipeg Jets. A swing and a miss for me with the Jets as a dog in that game, although could have been a completely different game if the Winnipeg Jets capitalized on some of the glorious chances they had in the first period. They completely outplayed the Leafs early in the game, but Ilya Samsonov up for the task. He was absolutely remarkable for the Leafs. It was one of his best games of the season. Winnipeg, I thought, could have been up 2-3-0 even after the first period. Samsonov made a bunch of big saves to keep it scoreless. And then Austin Matthews took over and decided, hey, I'm going to dominate tonight. And that's exactly what he did. A couple of goals for the Toronto Maple Leafs last night, and they get a 4-1 win over the Winnipeg Jets. A nice solid win for the Leafs. And again, the goaltending of Samsonov was a big story. When the Jets were taking the game to the Leafs, they couldn't generate any offense from the multitude of chances they got, and the goaltender was a big part of it. Ryan Miller night salvaged by the Buffalo Sabres. It was a great ceremony for Ryan Miller, one of the obviously best goaltenders in NHL history. I think when you look at it, it's him and Dominik Hasek. I mean, clearly 1A, 1B in terms of who are the 2 best goaltenders in Buffalo Sabres history. And Buffalo was very unfortunate to be down 1-0 after the first period, and frustrating because I actually split the bet between the first period and full game on the Buffalo Sabres last night. The first period ends up losing, even though the shots were 18-5. 18-5 in favor of the Buffalo Sabres after the first period. But only goal from the Islanders, and Sorokin was excellent. Sorokin's the reason the Islanders got a point out of last night's game. Buffalo was clearly the better of the two teams, controlled the play, was the team dictating the terms, if you will. And what a goal to win it in overtime from the Buffalo Sabres. A brilliant stretch pass. Somehow Dylan Cousins is from Rasmus Dahlin. Somehow Dylan Cousins is able to corral the bouncing puck, and have it end up, somehow he controlled the thing, and it ended up right on his stick. A beautiful pass again from deep in his own zone from Dahlin, and then a great finish by Cousins, and they get an overtime winner to beat the New York Islanders last night. Fitting end, like I said on Twitter, a fairy tale ending, if you will, for the Buffalo Sabres last night on a very, very special night, obviously, for Ryan Miller, and well-deserved that he has his number raised to the rafters there in Buffalo. All right, what else did we see last night? We saw St. Louis with a 5-2 win against Nashville. Very disappointing from the Predators. A very shorthanded, depleted, injury-riddled Blues team. The Predators not able to get the job done there, but credit to St. Louis. Solid game from them, 5-2 victory. Outshot the Preds 33-26. They were the better team. I mean, there's nothing fluky or fraudulent about it. Nashville or St. Louis was flat out better. So it's a split for me between the Predators and the over in that game. We went 1-1. Washington 4-0 against Arizona. I ended up going on the over and the Capitals team total over. So a 1-1 split there as well. But the Capitals 4-0 shutout. We kind of figured on yesterday's show when we talked about this game, Capitals may not overlook Arizona this time after losing at home to the Coyotes earlier this season, and the Capitals end up with the 4-0 win. A very solid, business-like effort from the Capitals on the road. What's wrong with the Golden Knights? A 3-2 loss to Detroit last night. Supposed to be maybe a bounce-back spot for the Golden Knights. It was not the case. Detroit with the 3-2 win. Although Ville Husso was immense in between the pipes for the for the Red Wings. Vegas was really, really coming on strong in the third period, but he held the fort and allowed that 3-2 lead to stand up for the Detroit Red Wings against the Vegas Golden Knights. And as I said the last time we talked about Vegas on this show, he does need to be a little bit more assertive, Jack Eichel. There's no question about that. If you actually go back and you look at the last 5 games for him, just 2 points. And last night, there was times when he was solid, but there was also times when, you're looking for a big push from Vegas down 2 goals, and, you just don't see it. And look, injuries have played a huge role. Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, this is a team that is just decimated with injuries. Up front, the blue line, they were just starting to get Alec Martinez healthy again. Now he did, I think, end up playing last night for the Vegas Golden Knights. He did, but he's been playing through pain. They've been without White Cloud and Theodore for a long period of time on the blue line. Mark Stone has been out. They've just had a lot to deal with. And don't sleep on the Will Carrier absence either. He's on IR now for the Vegas Golden Knights. He's had a solid season for them, 11 goals and 5 assists for them. So they've just had a lot of injuries, but that's not a 100% excuse for the way they're playing right now. They're just not playing it well, and you can only use injuries as a crutch for a certain period of time. You've got to at some point say, you know what, we've got to overcome this, and we've got to find ways to win hockey games. I don't care who's out of the lineup. There's 31 other teams in this league that are all dealing with injuries at some point in time. You got to show the ability to persevere through it and play through it and find a way to still win games. And Vegas is having issues with that right now. Very, very impressive bounce back for the Dallas Stars after losing to San Jose. They bounced back strong with a 4-0 shutout over the LA Kings. Solid performance, a 34 save shutout for Scott Wedgwood. Credit to him, because the last time we saw him in net before last night against Calgary, he got pulled, and it was an ugly outing for him. So great bounce back, and the Dallas Stars get a 4-0 win on the road against the LA Kings. We saw the Seattle Kraken get back on track after a couple of losses in a row, a 4-3 overtime win against New Jersey. Look, I mean, for New Jersey, it was a solid comeback. Again, they were trailing much of that game. They were down 2-0, made it 2-2. Seattle went ahead 3-2. A brilliant goal, by the way, to set up Brandon Tanev on that 3-2 goal. And then New Jersey ties the game. Nico Hischier with the extra attacker ties it 3-3. Just a hardworking goal. They had Seattle hemmed in late in that game, and they go to overtime. And that's 2 games in a row. New Jersey's forced overtime in the final minute or so. So it was tied 3-3, and then a nice overtime goal by Andre Burakovsky. Did the goal around the world sort of thing in his own zone, or in the New Jersey zone, and then he lets it go in a shot that's just a brutal goal to give up by Mackenzie Blackwood. Terrible. And the painful thing about that for Blackwood is he played very well last night. It was actually an excellent game for 3 periods from Mackenzie Blackwood. Very strong. He was in net for the majority of that game. He faced 40 shots. He only gave up 3 goals going into overtime, and he had to make a couple of excellent saves. I mean, he made a couple of really good saves for the Devils last night, but it all gets erased. It all gets wiped out when you give up a goal like that. You know, that Burakovsky goal, you have to make that save. You have to have it. It goes right under the pad. It goes right through him, along the ice, under the pad, right through him. You've got to make that stop, period. That's all there is to it. And it wipes out all the goodwill people had about your performance last night. It crumbles because you gave up just an absolutely horseshit goal, which ended up being the game-winning goal in overtime. It can't go in, on an NHL goaltender, that shot by Burakovsky. But it did, and the Seattle Kraken get a 4-3 win in overtime against the New Jersey Devils last night. And the game of the night for me, just based on how frenetic it was, how back and forth it was. You even had a couple of fights, and it lived up to the billing of being maybe the game of the night. And certainly for ESPN, they couldn't have asked for a better game on national television last night. The Edmonton Oilers with a 5-3 win over the Tampa Bay Lightning. Best bet winner for me with the Oilers last night, -120. I just like the way it's set up for the Oilers. They were rested. They were playing their best hockey of the season, 4 straight wins going into last night, catching Tampa on a back-to-back on the road. The night after, Steven Stamkos has his huge night, getting goal number 500 and a hat trick to boot. Kind of felt like the Oilers could pounce on this situation, and they did. They got out to the early 2-0 lead. Tampa battled back like they normally do because, it's a heart of a champion after all. They've been to the Stanley Cup final 3 years in a row, but Edmonton got the great individual effort from Connor McDavid last night on the 4-3 goal. It's just take that puck, go to the net, wouldn't be denied, stuffed it home past Andrei Vasilevsky for the eventual game-winning goal. And then, of course, Edmonton puts it away with a hard-working effort to get that empty net goal by Zach Hyman, and they win 5-3. Great game, great win for the Edmonton Oilers, and now that's 5 in a row for the Oilers. Their best stretch of hockey all season, starting to calm the waters a little bit and make Oiler Nation, exhale a little bit, because a lot of them were getting more than a little bit agitated about the inconsistency and the up and down nature of the Oilers season. But clearly they are getting their game back on a bit better level. And so is Jack Campbell, who of course was Skinner out, dealing with the birth of his child. His wife's gave birth. He was away for a bit. Jack Campbell seized the opportunity, right? Carpe diem, seize the day. That's what Jack Campbell's done here for the Oilers, and he's played some of his best hockey all season. Finally, signs of him getting his game back. No question about that. Speaking of getting things back, we've got Jimmy Murphy back. We haven't had him for a few weeks. They had Christmas break, New Year's break. He was under the weather for a little bit. So we've missed the Friday spot for a few weeks with Jimmy, but we got him back. Jimmy, what's up? Good to have you back.
Hey, man. How you doing? Great to be back.
Yeah, great to have you back. So we'll talk a little Bruins because I want to. There's a lot going on with the Bruins right now, and apparently there's a lot going on in the trade rumblings involving the Boston Bruins as well. And I know you had a little scoop on that earlier this week. But first, let's talk about last night's action, Jimmy. It was a busy Thursday. What were some of the games, some of the teams that stuck out to you?
Well, I mean, obviously I was pretty honed in on the Bruins Rangers, writing on that. So wasn't able to really watch a lot of what was going on in the 7 o'clocks. But yeah, you mentioned the Oilers there. They're playing some great hockey, but when it comes down to the team I'm covering right now, man, I mean, I'll tell you, the last 2 games they've had, or the last 2 nights, because it was back-to-back, I thought were the most dominant defensive performances that the Bruins have had. I know they were outshot by the Rangers last night, but at the same time, besides Panarin's point-blank chances, which Swayman stoned him on, I think they were just pushed to the outside very well by the Bruins. They did a good job of keeping everything to the perimeter. They really tightened up in front of the net. And I don't know what to say anymore about this team. I mean, I don't know what superlative to use anymore. They just keep winning. They keep every time you think they're going to blip. I mean, last night was a perfect spot for them to lose, and nobody would have said a thing. Nobody would have criticized them. If they had an off night, it was one of those. If we talk about situational bets, not if I didn't know the Bruins as well as I do right now, I probably would have gone with the Rangers in that game. But the Bruins just continue to amaze. So it's been something to watch so far. And, I'm starting to learn that maybe I should start betting on this team that I know so much about and make a little money off them as well. So I've been doing that, and it's been paying off.
It's funny. I didn't bet that game last night, Bruins and Rangers. And, of course, another great win for the Bruins. But I'm glad sometimes the best thing is you may not win with a game and you may not bet a game, but maybe you talk yourself out of a loss. Because I was leaning Rangers, with the rest advantage, with Boston on the back-to-back, but at the end of the day, Jimmy, I couldn't get over the fact that this is one of the best teams in the NHL. They're minus 110. I mean, how can you, it was just, I couldn't go against them at that number, at that price. I just couldn't do it. And sure enough, it was another solid win. And I think Swayman's back too. Swayman's been really good here these last few starts. So this notion earlier in the season that Allmark was playing much better than Swayman, I think that's going away a little bit. Allmark's still getting his shit done, but Swayman has picked up his game immensely. I think the last 3-4 times we've seen him in net.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know, if it was a matter of Allmark just playing better or Allmark just playing out of this world. Yeah. I mean, I've gotten covered some really good goalies over the year, obviously being in Boston with Tim Thomas, Tuukka Rask, now Linus Allmark, even going back to Andrew Raycroft when he had his Calder Trophy season. I got to watch him as well up close. And even Byron Dafoe. That's how old I am. But I look at this right now for the Bruins with Swayman. I guess the word would be reemerging. I don't think he really was that bad, so to speak. I think he just, the injury messed him up a bit. I think he was battling a nagging injury. And I think, he kind of got out of his rhythm once Allmark took off and got on the streak he was on. It's easy for goalies to kind of lose their feel there and stay in sync. So I think now that he's back, I mean, that's even more of a luxury for Jim Montgomery there. And I think we're going to see, I know obviously they want Allmark to contend for the Vezina, which he's doing right now, and they want him to get that award if he has a chance. But I don't think they're going to let that get in the way of team success and give Swayman more starts here in the second half. So I would think we see more of a rotation as we go forward here. And I'm not just talking, Swayman going in every 2 to 3 games. I'm talking like every other game, maybe when they go on that 5-game road trip leading into the All-Star break. I think he really goes every other game, Swayman, Allmark, Swayman, Allmark.
Yeah, definitely could be one of those goalie rotation type of deals. And I think you're going to see more of that because you also want to keep Allmark fresh. He has played a lot of games. And a guy that, I don't think he's going to easily exceed his career high in starts this year.
Yeah.
Linus Allmark, he's going to smash it. And you want to keep him in the situation where he's not going to get burned out by the time you get to April and the games that really matter in the playoffs. So I think it's very important they get some kind of rotation going when you factor that in. I want to shout out the blue line of Boston a little bit because, and look, you can talk a little bit about these rumblings about Horvat and the interest for the Boston Bruins on him. But the thing is that I find about the Horvat rumors is if they bring him in, which is great, obviously, it makes your center ice position even better, even stronger, even deeper. You've got a player playing his best season of his career. It's not like you wouldn't welcome Bo Horvat with open arms, but you've suddenly got a nice little thing going with your Czech line right now. Zacha and Pasternak and Krejci right now that's established themselves a little bit. And so it may not be easy to break that up. And I want to talk about the blue line a little bit because for years I've said how great McAvoy is and talked consistently about Carlo and Grzelcyk being very important. I'm going to shut out the depth guys. And Lindholm's been great. I want to mention that too. Lindholm's been terrific in terms of driving the offense from the blue line, moving the puck. It's been excellent. But I'm going to talk about the depth guys, that third pair. That third pair is playing out of their mind good. Derek Forbort scores against the Islanders a couple nights ago. He's been rock steady.
Yeah.
Connor Clifton, I can't say enough about him right now. He scores last night against the Rangers. He is a physical presence. He'll drop the gloves when the time comes. If there's something going on that, hey, you're picking on someone or a Bergeron or whoever, I'll stick up for my teammates. I'll drop the gloves. I'll show you that, hey, you're not pushing the Boston Bruins around. Clifton has really, really turned my head this year in terms of, wow, this guy's playing some really good hockey. Who isn't right now? 1 through 6. And you're getting such great play from the depth guys, the guys you would think might be the vulnerable parts of this blue line, Forbort and Clifton lately. I mean, that's special stuff right now.
Yeah, for sure. And Clifton was who I wrote on this morning. I had a good interview with him before they took off for New York. Kind of slipped my mind that he's one of, I think, 8 potential unrestricted free agents coming. Well, now 7, I think, because of Zacha signed coming up for the Bruins. Obviously, Pasternak, the biggest one and the one that's being talked about the most. And then, of course, Bergeron and Krejci are potential UFAs as well and could retire. But, you know, it kind of gets lost in the shuffle there that Clifton in his contract year is really blossomed and really, like, he's just coming out, and he's been a great all-around defenseman, and he scores last night, and he's definitely not afraid to jump into the play and pinch. And, you know, I thought it was an interesting quote. And look, you know, I was tight with Bruce Cassidy, and, you know, I have nothing but good things to say about my relationship with him, but obviously his relationship with some of the players soured. And I think as this year's gone on, we've realized what happened there. It was just a lot of the younger players were afraid to maybe play with a little more freedom, so to speak, you know. And I think I asked him, you know, I said to him, what makes you a better player this season? What has been the biggest improvement? And he said, am I a better player? Honestly, I wouldn't say so. I just feel like I have more confidence. And he said, I mean, last year, I think I ended up getting scratched the 3rd game of the year. So, you know, and he went on and said, look, now that's not happening. If I make a mistake, I'm still going back in there. And the other thing he credited too, ironically, and it was a good segue by you to go from the goaltending to the defensemen scoring a lot, is that these defensemen aren't afraid to potentially give up those odd man rushes going back the other way. And they have the confidence that, hey, we got a Vezina Trophy candidate back there. And, you know, a guy in Jeremy Swayman that would probably be a starter on half the teams in the NHL. So if we screw up when we pinch, then we're confident they're going to make the big save. And they have been getting those big saves. It hasn't gone seamless when it comes to the defensemen pinching more. There's been a lot of more odd man rushes back there, but the goalies are coming up big. So everybody's chipping in, and they all feed off each other, and they just got it going.
They do. It's amazing how you can be, you know, have your chest pumped out a little bit as a defenseman to basically jump in the play, be active, be aggressive, keep plays alive, and you still have the confidence to get back and kill plays in the defensive zone. And if you don't, you've got the goaltending trust and confidence in both Allmark and Swayman. And, you know, if you've got a Civ goaltender back there, maybe you're not taking those chances. Maybe you're not obviously pinching as much and being as aggressive. So it's just, you're right. The complete team game is something. And I know one thing about Montgomery, and obviously you'll know this covering them daily, being around him. He's Mr. Positivity. Oh my gosh, he really is. I mean, he's always saying on the bench, he said on the, or Derek Forbort was on Chicklets too. And he said, Monty's like Mr. Positivity. If we're down 2-0 in the game, he says, okay, boys, we're getting it back. That's basically what he's saying. We're getting it back. It's all good. And he's just reinforced a positive element with this team. You're right. When they screw up individually, when they screw up as a team, it's not what the fuck's going on and ranting and raving and none of this. It's always positive reinforcement. And I think they're responding to that, the players.
Yeah, you know what's interesting too, and look, I'm not trying to sound like the old boomer here, the old man, but I mean, this is a different generation of players right now, right? Yeah. And I'm not going to say, I think the word soft could be insulting when I'm trying to say what I'm saying here, so I won't use that word, but I think that I'm trying to think of a good synonym, but these players need positive reinforcement. They don't respond well to a coach who, you know, like a Mike Babcock or a Bruce Cassidy or a guy like that who's going to, you know, drill them all the time and you know, tell them, all right, you're sitting at the end of the bench for the next 5 shifts. Montgomery does that. I mean, I've seen him park guys on the bench during a game, but he's also, if you watch him, he'll go up and he's talking to them. He's patting them on the back and he's saying, hey, this is why you're sitting right now. I want you to go over this right now. I want you to learn why I don't have you out there and apply it when I send you back out there. And then he sends them back out there and they execute it. And I think that's been the biggest difference there is just communication. That being said, and I don't know, again, I don't know what happened with Bruce Cassidy. But any coach in the NHL or
I'm still a Bruce fan, you know that.
Yeah, exactly. But look, here's the thing with Montgomery too, and he'll be the first to tell you, and you can hear him in the press conferences how grateful he is to be able to have them. Is he's got like 2 Reg Dunlops and David Krejci and Patrice Bergeron sitting on the bench, and even Nick Foligno. You know, he's got these player coach type guys out there that really are an extension of his coaching staff. And I think that in today's NHL, the players respond more to that intermediary, the kind of the conduit from the coach to the players, you know, like the veteran players who are still close enough in age maybe to relate to them a little more and understand what makes them tick and what will get them going. And Montgomery has seized that, and he's really taken advantage of that, where maybe, you know, at times maybe Bruce didn't do that enough. Maybe Bruce should have let Bergeron or Foligno or a veteran have the room a little bit more in an intermission to rally the troops. You know, there's that video going around of Nick Foligno during the Winter Classic when, let's face it, guys, I mean, the Bruins sucked in the first 2 periods of the Winter Classic. They had no business being in that game. They were atrocious. And then Foligno goes in and gives this speech and says, look, you know, you guys have an opportunity here. This is like a once-in-a-lifetime thing, and you're going to tarnish it if you lose. You know, it's great. Oh, I got to play in the Winter Classic at Fenway Park, but is it really going to be that great of a memory if you lose? And so he conveyed that message to them. They grabbed onto it and they went and applied it on the ice. And I think that's the difference right now, is that Montgomery is really utilizing that leadership core a lot better than maybe Cassidy did towards the end.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some truth to that, and the players are responding to it. And great comment, too, that Montgomery made when he was talking to Biz and Witt on the Chicklets show right around the Winter Classic. They did that interview with him, which was great, is that he said, my own personal experience, you know, with the drinking problem that he had, it's really not softened him up, but he said, when I was at my lowest point, I needed some positivity. I needed someone to give me positive thoughts, positive reinforcement. And it's basically, that's what got me thinking, maybe I've got to apply that to my coaching now moving forward, the next job I get. You know, that when you're struggling and you're down and you need a little pick-me-up. And that's what he's doing with the players now. When it's a bad turnover of the puck or a bad play or a bad penalty is taken, it's not, no, that's it. Out you go. It's, you know, hey, you made a mistake, but guess what? We're going to give you a shot. We're going to work with you, positive reinforcement, and look at how the players respond to it. Because he needed some of that in his own life. I got to check that interview out too, because that's actually something that the last few weeks or even month, as I watch his press conferences afterwards, after a practice or a game, I've kind of been thinking about, you know, how much did what he went through with his alcoholism and getting sober and being given a second chance in the NHL, how much, and I guess there you go, there's your answer. How much he seems to say it's changed the way he's coached a little bit.
It really has. Yeah. And I think, you know, he obviously, anyone that goes through that is a big believer in second chances or third chances or fourth chances, as it sometimes goes with addicts and alcoholics. And I think that's awesome that he said that. I'll have to check that out. And that's a great story idea. So thanks, Ian.
Yeah, but no, it's definitely, and it makes sense too. It really does. I mean, when you're going through that, for sure, that can be something.
I mean, let's face it, guys. If you go back to when that happened, I mean, you got to imagine how embarrassing that was for him. And first and foremost, how
he had a great thing going in Dallas at the time. He really did.
Yeah, and first and foremost, how embarrassing it was for him with his family.
Yeah. Right.
And then second, to be. I'm not trying to downplay anybody else's job atmosphere or their office atmosphere or, you know, the 9-to-5 job person. But I'm just talking about when you're within a team and you're around the same group of people, it's that tight knit and it's that, you know, in your face, everybody kind of knows everybody's business and everything. To have to face that with the history he now has, with people knowing, you know, and there's a lot that didn't come out in the public that was happening too with him. And I'm sure the players know that, and he knows they know that. It takes a lot of courage for him to go back into that type of situation and setting, I think, and then to have the success he's having. So I think he deserves a lot of credit.
Yep, no doubt. Jay Woodcroft, yeah, great point. Cheshire Cat said something similar in a presser the other night. You have to give people room to make mistakes. Yeah, no doubt. And Jay's like that too in Edmonton.
Now, if Connor Clifton goes out and turns the puck over 7 times in a row and 7 shifts in a row, you can bet he's going to sit on the bench. All right. So let's not take that mistake thing and pull it longer than we have to. But yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
You know what it is? Like, he's finding that happy balance.
That is. Yeah, if you screw up 7 times, it's going to get to a point where, positive reinforcement. We're done with positive reinforcement.
Yeah, exactly.
7 mistakes in a row you've made. That's it. At that point.
Don't take advantage of me.
And another thing I want to throw out there about Woodcroft, brilliant move he made at the end of the game. And he just does this just in the spur of the moment. Like, there's so many coaches that are so regimented, man. They just roll 4 lines. They make no changes with the lines at any time based on time, score, situation, circumstance. He puts Derek Ryan on the Connor McDavid line with like 8 minutes to go in the third period. Why last night? Because they're up by a goal. He wants a defensive presence on that line. And Derek Ryan's a terrific defensive forward. That's just great coaching. You play to the situation. You play to the circumstance. They're up by a goal. You're playing the very good Tampa Bay Lightning team. And he's got Derek Ryan just for like the final 8 to 10 minutes of the third period moved up to the top line with Connor McDavid, because that's a great defensive forward. And he's going to be responsible, and he's going to help us, get through those final 8 minutes and preserve victory. That's outstanding by Woodcroft doing that last night. Great job by him. No doubt.
Go ahead, Ian.
No, I was just going to say, I thought it was just a great move by him. There's no question. Before we get to tonight's games, I want to talk about this Pacific Division race. And my gosh, it's a race right now, Jimmy. And I want to just get your thoughts. Who you think is going to be the teams that are going to be those top 3 teams when it's all said and done? But in the Pacific Division right now, man, is it tightening up. You've got Seattle, 58 points, tied for first in points with Vegas, who are suddenly slumping right now a little bit. But the product of that has been a lot of injuries. I still think Vegas has got better hockey in them, but it certainly hasn't been lately. You've got Seattle and Vegas tied in points at 58. LA, 2 points behind them with 56 in the Pacific. Edmonton, who are now surging, have moved up to 55 points. They're 1 point back of LA for third in the division, and only 3 points back of Seattle and Vegas for first in the division. Calgary's not out of the mix yet either. 51 points. They're 5 back of LA for third, and 7 back of both Seattle and Vegas. I mean, Seattle, Vegas, LA, Edmonton, Calgary, 5 teams going for 3 division spots and also going for a wild card spot. This Pacific Division race is heating up right now, Jimmy.
Yeah, it is. And look, I mean, Vegas, I've been watching them a lot. I don't know why, I end up, I'll be writing at that time or something, and I come back from the games, or after I finish my story, I'm catching the second half of the Pacific games. And I've just ended up tuning into Vegas for like their last 5 games. They're not in a good place. They are not in a good place right now. Even when they're winning, they're not deserving to win. And there's something going on there. I know they've had health issues. I'm not excusing that. I'm not like saying that doesn't matter and it's not having an effect, but there's just something off about that team right now. I'm interested to see if maybe a shakeup trade is coming for the Vegas Golden Knights, because I mean, we know they always have cup aspirations. They're not by any means going to just roll over. So I'm interested to see what management does there. But yeah, the rest of the division is just crazy right now. But you bring up Woodcroft. He's done a great job there. And that team, I think obviously they go where Connor McDavid goes, but at the same time, their depth is starting to shine there. And they have what seems to be a lot more versatility up front. With you mentioned Woodcroft knowing when to pull these changers or change things up at the right time. That's because he's got the confidence that he has that versatility to slot a guy that maybe is a 4th liner all of a sudden up in the 1st line. He's confident that he can do that and that those guys will fall into place and make sense. But it's an interesting battle there. And I think the Calgary Flames, Ian, I haven't been touching them a lot in terms of betting because they're great on paper. I think they suck on ice. I think the team, and I was one of them. They stink
on ice there, yeah.
They are overrated, man. This is not a good hockey team in my eyes. And I think that, and again, I'm including myself in this, I think that we have overrated Jacob Markstrom. I really think that, the bar, and I'm not blaming him. This is more the media and the fans. I think that the bar was set too high for him, and people got a little too carried away with him over the last few years. I don't think he's the goalie that everybody thought that he was, and I hope he proves me wrong. But right now, he's not, and that's a huge issue in Calgary, because we talked about the Bruins not being afraid to give up odd man rushes because they've got that confidence in their goaltending. I don't see any confidence in the goaltending in Calgary right now.
No, it is. And it's thank goodness that Dan Vladar's played well, but Dan Vladar, you're putting a lot on his plate, because, asking him to be number one caliber goalie yet is still asking a lot, but he's actually outplayed Markstrom for many times this season. And the problem with Markstrom is he can't let his team get into a game because he's spotting them a goal or two in the first 5-10 minutes. It's been a huge issue for Markstrom, the early goals, the goals that he's allowing in the first 5-10 minutes of a game. And it happened again the other night against Colorado. And Sutter said it after the game. You can't be spotting, a team like the Colorado Avalanche 2 goals right in the first 5-10 minutes of the game. And that's exactly what ended up happening there. And, he made sure, Sutter, that was a startling press conference after the loss to Colorado. He hammered home the point, it must have been 2 or 3 times, that they've got 13 Stanley Cup champs on their roster. We only have 1. We're not anywhere close to their level. I mean, he said it multiple times, and I think that was with purpose. That was calculated move by Daryl Sutter to say, we're not even close to sniffing Stanley Cup contender status right now. It's almost like just a veiled shot and message to the team saying, wake up, get your ass in gear, because you're nowhere close to the level you think you are.
I think that goes back to what I was just saying, though, too, Ian, is like, they were so hyped up. There's the old famous saying that a coach has always got to tell his players, just don't read the clippings. Don't read your clippings. And I think these guys, they're I don't care what they say. I'm just telling you guys right now, when an athlete tells you that he's not on social media, unless he's over 40 years old, he's full of shit. So, I mean, these athletes are on social media. They're seeing what people are saying about them there. They're seeing what they're saying in newspaper articles or online features. And let's face it, they were a darling coming into this season after that huge trade. Everybody's hyping them up as the Cup favorite out of the West. And I think it got to their heads. And I think that's what that was about with Daryl Sutter there being like, I don't know who you guys thought you were, but you're not them. You are not the Colorado Avalanche. You're not there yet. So stop playing like you are and thinking you can just rest on your laurels. Oh, and by the way, you don't have many laurels to rest on this season. So I'm with you. I think that was a purposeful move by Daryl Sutter there.
Yeah. I mean, he said it like 2 or 3, 4 times that just all the Cup winners they've got on Colorado, and we've got one. And of course, the one he was referencing was Nazem Kadri, who just came from Colorado over to the Calgary Flames. So yeah, it was a calculated calculated quotes after that loss to Colorado the other night. So yeah, the Flames have a big one on Saturday. Like, it's not going to get any easier. They got Tampa Bay coming to town tomorrow afternoon as part of Hockey Day in Canada. So obviously another tough opponent on the way for the Calgary Flames. All right. I don't have a strong opinion on the first game, but we'll roll through it quickly for the Friday card. It's Ottawa and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh -150, home favorite, 6.5 the total in this game. I mean, I initially liked the over, and I did bet it small, but I kind of peel back a little on that because of Tristan Jarry coming back, who's obviously had a pretty solid year for the Penguins. And they did play an up-and-down affair. Does it make you think now, same 2 teams, 2 games in a row, maybe they tighten it up a little bit more here tonight in the rematch? But at the same point in time, Jimmy, 6-1 to the over in the last 7 meetings with the Senators and the Penguins. They've been just high-scoring affairs consistently. I mean, I think Pittsburgh probably bounces back, wins this game. I mean, I know Ottawa beat them the other night. It was a penalty-filled game. Your colleague at Hockey Now did good work, Dan Kingerski, talking about the Pittsburgh situation the other night and how Sullivan was just livid. Man, you talk about teams and coaches and everybody that have just been livid. This has not been a good – it's like I don't know what it is. Have the officials just done such a shitty job this week, or is it – we're getting close to the All-Star break. The points are becoming more valuable. Coaches are getting, a little shorter with their fuse and their temper, and their acceptance of bad officiating is lessening because the games are getting more important. But I've seen Paul Maurice blow a gasket with refereeing. Sheldon Keefe's done it recently. We saw Mike Sullivan do it the other night for the Pittsburgh Penguins against Ottawa. I mean, we're seeing it across the league. I mean, the coaches are losing their patience with the refs lately.
Yeah, look, I think what happens is if one coach does it and then the next game he gets maybe some borderline calls go his way, then the rest of them are going to say, "Oh, that's all I have to do," and so then they do it, and it
They'll
becomes a
follow
pattern.
suit whenever they're not happy with a
Yeah,
ref.
exactly.
Yeah.
But the thing is, that game last night, I was listening. I didn't see it, but I was listening to my friends on Montreal radio on TSN 690 this morning. And they were actually saying where there were some calls that totally should have gone the Panthers' way, and they didn't get it. So, like, wait a minute, is this method working anymore? Where if you go and you take a fine, you blast the refs, you take a fine. Well, it's worth the money because you're going to get some calls go your way. Well, maybe the refs were sending a message last night in that Montreal Florida game, like, no, it's not always going to go that way, and you want to abuse us? Well, screw you. And so that's an interesting thing to follow right now, right? Because I think there's been a lot of up and down officiating over the last few years. I think that, obviously video replay and the offsides and all that, it's been chaos, man. And if we start to see a real strong division between coaches / players and officiating, we could be in some trouble because last I checked, the officials have been going on very short CBAs. And I want to say that it's up again after this year. So, God forbid all of a sudden the refs are like, screw you, we're striking. So that's something to watch, man, because I do think, look, I'm not defending all the officiating, but I am saying that some of these coaches are going a little overboard. And I think that there is a little too much abuse of officials in the NHL at this point.
Yeah, and definitely it's been that way the last couple of weeks. John Cooper, even last night, was rumbling and grumbling on the bench about some of the calls against
He's always a veiled criticizer. He's always like very guarded with his criticism. He's very subliminal about it, and he sneaks little things in when he talks about the refs. But you're right. Lately, he's just coming right out and blasting them. So when he's being very vocal and straightforward like that, there's some division going on.
Yeah, there is. There's no question. We don't have goalies confirmed for this Ottawa-Pittsburgh game yet. Cam Talbot was rough against Pittsburgh, even though they won that game. I mean, there was a couple goals he absolutely should have stopped. We'll see if they have him in net. We're expecting Tristan Jarry for Pittsburgh, although that hasn't been confirmed either. Like I said, for this game, I have a small bet on the over. I know Pittsburgh is in the revenging mode here after losing in Ottawa, but I'm not comfortable with them at -150 right now. I'm just not. I mean, they're still banged up beyond belief on the blue line. You could talk about Letang and Petrie being out. Don't sleep on Jan Ruda, who was with that Tampa team for years, shut down defensemen, blocks a ton of shots. It's not a coincidence that since he's been out the last few games, they're giving up goals again, Pittsburgh. They really miss his defensive presence back there on the blue line. So for that reason, I do. And again, series history is 6 of 7 over. So for me, it would be over. And I'm saying staying off the side. Do you have anything here, Jimmy? Sens and Pens?
I'm looking at the first period over. I'm with you too, and I would probably lean towards the total over as well. But I'm with you. I'm staying far away from the side. Both these teams are Jekyll and Hyde lately. More so, I'd say Pittsburgh. And I don't trust betting either of them on a side. I look more at props right now on the over-under when it comes to the Penguins and the Senators.
All right, there we go. We'll talk about the Friday game, Colorado, Vancouver. We'll talk a little Saturday opinions from Jimmy, since he's only on with us once a week. We'll get some Saturday opinions, and we'll let him talk a little NFL. He's talking upset city in the NFL this weekend. We'll let him state his case and defend his position when we come back, right after we hear from Gramco.
All right, whether you or your team's game is on the field, screen, racetrack, or the ice, Gramco is for the game. Grown by farmers who spent years developing premium hemp genetics, Gramco provides customers with consistent quality Delta 8 products ready for any occasion. Gramco currently offers numerous Delta 8 products such as vape cartridges, disposable vapes, pre-rolls, gummies, wake and bake coffee, and more. Gramco offers an enjoyable legal high delivered discreetly and directly to you, and is also available at many American retailers as well. Get the best Delta 8 cannabis products on the market shipped quickly and discreetly from Gramco. If you visit www.thegramco.com, use promo code ICEGUYS, you get 25% off of any order, and all orders on the site that are $50 and higher are shipped free with standard shipping. So live elevated with Gramco and check out their wonderful Delta 8 products today.
All right, second game here on this Friday card. It is Colorado and Vancouver. We've got Colorado minus 150, road favorite, 6.5 the total in this one. This is a really interesting scheduling spot for Colorado. They beat Calgary the other night. They've got Seattle tomorrow night, which you would think is probably the bigger game, better opponent. And they got this game with Vancouver. It does have that trap feel to it tonight a little bit for the Avalanche. And, of course, Cale Makar might miss a second game. Of course, he was a late absence on Wednesday night, day-to-day. It's not anything major, but it's enough that, he didn't play against Calgary, and he might not play tonight, although that hasn't been confirmed. It's probably going to be a game-time decision at this point. We'll see how he feels right before opening puck drop. Nevertheless, I still think Colorado takes care of business. It's just difficult, to trust this Vancouver team right now. They just hemorrhage goals left and right. It's just been a disaster defensively. It's taken a toll on two goalies. Spencer Martin gets pulled in the game against Tampa Bay the other night, and Delia replaces him. And again, Delia is pretty much an AHL goalie at this point too. So tough situation. They can't keep the puck out of the net. I've been riding the over train with Vancouver repeatedly. I'm back on it tonight, over 6.5. But I'm also going to have smaller bets on Colorado in regulation. You can get that minus 105, minus 110, and Colorado team total over 3.5, around minus 125 as well. I mean, I just don't see, even with Makar maybe missing again, which is big because he gets that transition game and that offense kick-started from the back end, the great first pass and getting things going. But Devon Toews will get more minutes. His usage will go up without Makar like it did last game, and he's very capable himself. So it's not like they're helpless, they're powerless without Cale Makar, especially when you factor who they're playing. I mean, it's like Vancouver gives up goals to anybody and everybody. They could be missing Makar. They could be missing maybe another one or two defensemen. They could be missing McKinnon, and you still don't know if Vancouver is going to keep the puck out of their own net against this Avs team. So it's just been an issue. But I also like, the full game over as well. So I've got Colorado and reg, Colorado team total over. A little bit more on the full game over because I do think Vancouver could find the back of the net here. The one thing about the Canucks is even with these losses, Jimmy, they've played hard and they've shown an ability to score goals. Before the 5-2 loss against Tampa Bay, they scored 4 against Carolina, 3 against Florida, 4 against Tampa, 4 against Pittsburgh, 4 against Winnipeg. So, the Canucks have been scoring. Offense hasn't been their problem. It's been keeping the puck out of their net. So my favorite look on this game is over 6.5, but I also played a little bit smaller as well. Colorado in regulation and Colorado team total over 3.5. What do you think here, Jimmy? Avs and Canucks?
What I think is just bet against the Canucks until this coaching situation is resolved. How do you play in a game when you know that your coach is a sitting duck? And, that situation right now to me is 2 words, awkward and classless by the Vancouver Canucks to leave Bruce Boudreau out there blowing in the wind like they are right now, and to openly admit that they're interviewing people for his job, and to clearly have leaked that story about Rick Tocchet. It's disgusting. It's disgusting what the Vancouver Canucks
100%.
have done to Bruce Boudreau there, and they should be ashamed. And, people can say all they want about the coaching job he's done. That's a whole nother topic. But you don't do that to any human being. You don't do that to an employee the way they're treating him right now, especially in such a public job that he has. So shame on them, and I hope they lose every game for the rest of the season. Screw them. And I'm going Jimmy double puck line on this one. Give me the Colorado Avalanche minus 2.5. I hope the Canucks get blown 10-0 out of the building.
There you go. Hey, I sounded off about this shit about a week or so ago. I was just livid. And it was after, I think, which game was it? It was against Florida, I think. They lost that game 4-3, and the rumblings of Tocchet were starting. And the media is asking him right after a loss about it. Are you worried you might get fired tomorrow or next week, or just coming right out and asking him? And Bruce is just nice and calm. And Bruce is a great guy. I hate to see it. That's the thing. He's a great character, heart of gold and all that. The fact that they're putting him through this shit, the management's putting him through it. And then the media, like donkeys, are asking him, do you think you'll be fired today, tomorrow, the next day? And he just says, I just wake up and I'm coming to do my work until they tell me not to. It's just the perfect response. Yeah. But the fact he's got to field questions like that is a disgrace. I totally agree with that. And yeah, Colorado, the normal puck line, minus 1.5 at plus 155. The minus 2.5 on the alternative puck line, plus 265 for Colorado here with the minus 2.5. So there we go. Jimmy alternative puck line here tonight. Avs minus 2.5 plus 265 in this game. There we go. So just the 2 games tonight. Jimmy, Saturday NHL. It's a huge day. It's Hockey Day in Canada as well on Rogers Sportsnet north of the border. It's in Owen Sound, Ontario this year, the location for it. So they'll be on site there, Ron McLean and company doing their thing. And then they've got the triple header, Tampa Bay, Calgary in the afternoon, Toronto, Montreal, Winnipeg, Ottawa at night, and then it wraps up with Edmonton, Vancouver, all Canadian teams in action tomorrow for Hockey Day in Canada. But it's not just that. There's there's some other interesting games. You got Minnesota, Florida on the docket, LA, Nashville, Washington, Vegas, slumping Vegas, Colorado, Seattle in the late night hours tomorrow. So Jimmy, if you look ahead to Saturday, what do you want to mention? Any leans, any games you want to talk about?
Well, you know what? I'll stick with the Canadian games, just in honor of Hockey Day in Canada. And let's start with the first game there, the 3 p.m. matinee. And by the way, I love Hockey Day in Canada. It's always been one of my favorite things. Before I was really working full-time in the business, that would be a great drinking day for me, to be honest. I would just sit back and watch hockey all day. And, we used to get the grill going. It's great. And I love that they celebrate the sport and the heritage and all that. So kudos to CBC and Sportsnet for still doing that. So let's start. You got that 3 p.m. game there, the Tampa Bay Lightning at the Calgary Flames. Hey, look, man, the Lightning have been quietly playing a lot better hockey. And I think, obviously they're out west right now. Overall, I think they've really turned their season around as of late. And it's going to be interesting going down the stretch. I know we were singing the Bruins praises earlier, but if the Bruins do actually come back to earth at some point and do go on their first losing streak of the season, that's right, they haven't had one yet. You got to beware of the Lightning, man. They're not as down and out and dead, and their run isn't as over as everybody thinks. They're still a very dangerous team. And so that's why I'm going to take them on the road with another alternate reverse puck line. Give me the Tampa Bay Lightning -1.5 in Calgary tomorrow. And then if we scroll down, we go to the Canadiens Leafs. I just like the hockey Toronto's playing right now. They've really, I saw them, like you mentioned, that game last week, and I know they lost it, but that was a hell of a hockey game. That could have gone either way. I like the grit that this team has now. They're not just all finesse. They're not all run and gun offense. They can play defense. They're getting some good goaltending from Samsonov and Murray. I like the Leafs and where they're headed right now. So I'm going to go with a Leafs in regulate. Actually, no, give me the Leafs puck line. I'll go Leafs puck line. Montreal's going the other way. I think they're starting to really dunk themselves into the Connor Bedard sweepstakes. So give me the Leafs puck line as well there. The Jets at the Senators. Well, you got the Senators coming in from from Pittsburgh, tonight, going back and having to play again tomorrow night. I love the Jets just sitting there waiting. Give me the Jets, though, on the money line in that. And then the late game, like I said, just keep pounding it against Vancouver right now, unless, of course, that coaching change is made, which there is a chance that could happen from what I hear, by puck drop tomorrow night in Vancouver. I'm liking the Oilers on the puck line.
There you go. And by the way, that total is 7 for the Oilers and Canucks tomorrow night. So it's all these games that have hit at least 7 goals lately in Vancouver games, and we're finally seeing one of their game totals hit 7, and it's going to be tomorrow night. So they finally made the adjustment up from the 6.5, that we have seen repeatedly here. So there you go. A lot of Hockey Day in Canada. And that Jet spot really does look appealing to me tomorrow, because you've got them off not only 1, but 2 losses in a row after losing to the Leafs on Thursday night, and Ottawa back-to-back after being in Pittsburgh tonight. So it just sets up beautifully for the Winnipeg Jets. Doesn't mean for sure they're going to win, but it couldn't set up situationally any better for the Winnipeg Jets tomorrow night in that game. All right, NFL divisional playoffs. We'll talk a little about that, because if you follow Jimmy at Murphy's Law 74 on Twitter, he's going bold. Go bold or go home. He thinks Jacksonville is upsetting Kansas City, and I'm with him on that at least in terms of covering the number plus the points. I think Jacksonville, look, Doug Peterson's 6-0 against the spread as a playoff underdog. I think that's worth noting. He has had this team, going back to the Eagles run with Nick Foles years ago. He's been just an excellent playoff underdog. They only lost by 10 at Kansas City during the regular season meeting, and Jacksonville wasn't playing at the time like they are now, where they've got all of a sudden they got Zay Jones, they've got Evan Ingram has stepped up at tight end, they've got Christian Kirk has been excellent, the offense has thrived. And the scary thing about Jacksonville is they could be down by 14, 17 points. They're always going to have that belief they can still win the game. Came back to beat Baltimore, came back to beat Dallas, came back to beat the Chargers down 27-0 last week. They will never say, you know what, we're down big early. We'll play for 4 quarters and we'll see where we're at. They're not going to, you know, fold the tent at any point. So, you know, I like the Jags with the idea. I'm with you there. I'm not with you, though, on Dallas. I can't see it with Dallas. San Francisco, first of all, going from Monday night to Sunday, cross country to San Francisco. The 49ers just waiting there. They played the first game last weekend. Dallas had to play Monday night. That defense of theirs against Dallas on the offensive line, which has been a little spotty at times. And to me, I just think they ran into a Tampa Bay team that's just beaten down, defense falling apart. You know, Tom Brady struggling. The play calling stunk. They fired Leftwich after the game. Dallas took advantage of a really bad Tampa performance. I think it's going to be a lot tougher for them against San Francisco Sunday night. But the floor is yours to talk about why you like Dallas and Jacksonville.
I'm going to come right on and say, man, I'm just throwing stuff out there. What the hell, going with it? And I'm liking underdogs. I've been hitting a lot on underdogs lately in football. So I'm just riding that way. But no, I think that this is an easy game in turn for Kansas City to, I know nobody overlooks anyone in the playoffs, but let's face it. I mean, they're human. And like we talked about, who was it? The Flames reading their clippings there. I mean, it can get to your head. And I think this is a game where maybe KC's looking at it and not taking them a little seriously enough. And this is a team that you can't count out no matter what the score. I like the way they play. I like their spirit. I like their coaching. And I saw what that coach did to the New England Patriots a few years back in the Super Bowl when nobody gave him a chance. So I think he's obviously capable of a monumental upset. And I think he pulls it. And look, I'll agree with you. This one I'm a lot more confident in than I am in the Cowboys. However, that being said, I've been, and the Cowboys comes more from me loving a certain player, and that's Dak Prescott. I've been a big Dak Prescott fan for a while now. And the guy's just had such hard luck with injuries and just, you know, it's obviously the
injuries up and down play. Yeah.
Being the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys and all that and the pressure that comes with it. I just cheer for him. I want to see him shut people up. And I think he did that. Not that they shouldn't have beaten Tampa Bay, because Tampa Bay sucks. I don't know why people were so on that. Oh, Brady's got one more comeback left in him. Whatever. Brady's done. Hang him up. I just think that, you know, I want to see a guy like that win. And I think that right now, more than in a while, he's feeling it. He really is. And I know he's going up against arguably the best defense left in the NFL playoffs, but I think they could do it. I think they at least hang in the game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. But like you said, I'm very confident in the Jags. The Cowboys was more just a sentimental pick for Dak Prescott.
There you go. All right, there you go. Some NFL. And just briefly, Bengals, Bills, and Giants, Eagles. What do you think of those two?
I'll tell you why else I want the Jags to win, not just because I think they can. You know, I bet the house at the beginning of this year on the Buffalo Bills to win the Super Bowl. And I did it again when the playoffs started and got some amazingly good value too. So I'm cheering, you know, I look at it, well, okay, if the Jags can win, it's a better path for the Bills. If they can beat the Bengals, they got to do that first. I think it's going to be another great game in Buffalo. I think the way I look at it, though, is the way Buffalo won last week, where they really, let's face it, underperformed, underachieved, and they were lucky to get out of that one. Both teams
did. Cincy did too, yeah.
Yeah, and Cincy did too. But I think Buffalo not playing to their capabilities last week and barely escaping that, I'm guessing that was pounded into their head throughout practice all week. And I think that's going to have an even more – I know you don't need to get more motivated for the playoffs. I get that. But in terms of wanting to prove their coaches right, say, hey, no, we can play to our capabilities here. I think that's just an extra motivation. It's really going to work against Cincinnati there. And also, I just like the home field advantage as well. So that's why I'll take the Bills there.
3 of 5 offensive line starters out for Cincinnati as well
for
this game. Yeah, left tackle, right tackle, and right guard. Jonah Williams, Lyle Collins, and Kappa as well, all out for Cincinnati. So that's unfortunate. And the left tackle was the one that got injured last week against the Ravens. So it's unfortunate because I'm leaning Bengals plus the points. The point spread record's been phenomenal for the Bengals. 21-4, I think, ATS, their last 25 games. But that offensive line does worry me for this game and the status of it, no question. And Giants Eagles, I kind of have to bet the Giants, Jimmy, because I've been on the Giants all season long, and I took them last week against Minnesota. And I know look, you cannot compare Minnesota to Philadelphia. I totally get that. Minnesota was not a strong 2 seed. Philly is great in the trenches, great offensively, great defensively, much, I think, more talent in all levels of, both sides of the ball than the Vikings. But the Giants have this special little karma going, and they've got a terrific coaching staff that has them well prepared, it seems, in games. And I would think they're going to give Philly a little bit of a game here. And like I said, I've been on the Giants all season long. How can I just abandon ship just because they're playing Philly now? I can't.
Yeah, and look, I mean, it's like a tradition, right? For the Giants, every 10 years, they go on a Cinderella run through the playoffs. Yeah. Look what they did 10 years ago or 11 years ago, maybe it was, when they upset the Patriots again for a second time, right? So I look at them right now. I like the way they're playing, and I think a great thing that's been really treating me well, I know you can't get as much value on it, but I'm still going to ride it, is the over on any Daniel Jones rushing yards. There was a while there where, they really weren't catching up to it and you could get great value, but he's just, I'm not, by no means am I saying he's as talented or as good a quarterback at this point as Josh Allen, but just the way he runs the ball, his size, sort of the way they run downhill. Most quarterbacks are running backwards and sliding, right? Or they're trying to get out of bounds. These guys run like big ass, tall running backs. And I love it. It's bulldog. It's old school football. And I like his style a lot. So, yeah, I'm going to take the points there. I don't think they come out of it with the win. I think they give him a good battle there. I might even be tempted when you think about it. I kind of like the Cowboys, but not well enough. Maybe I'll tease up the Cowboys and tease up the Giants. And that could be a solid bet right there.
Keep in mind, too, the number 1 seeds before, and that's why I think there's a little more hesitation among myself and some other people to just, hey, the bye week teams, the teams that are the number 1 seeds, Philadelphia and Kansas City, it's going to be a good thing for them because the number 1 seeds in the divisional playoff round both lost outright as favorites last year. Green Bay against San Francisco and Tennessee against Cincinnati last year in the divisional playoff. Titans were the number 1 seed in the AFC. They were probably a bit of a weak number 1 seed, but they were still a number 1 seed with the bye week, with home field advantage in the divisional round. They lost outright to Cincinnati. And the same thing with Green Bay against San Francisco. Remember that game? I think it was in the snow or it was a terrible weather night. They couldn't get anything going offensively. They had the special teams miscue, which they've had a lot of under this coach, by the way, the Packers. And they ended up losing to Jimmy G and the 49ers in that game last year. So both number 1 seeds went down in the divisional round. So it's proof that it can happen. And that's why we'll see if the Eagles and Chiefs can survive those upset bids here this weekend. But it'll be fun. Looking forward to the NFL divisional playoff round for sure. The Ice Guys show. We got best bets coming up. Hit the like button if you're watching live on YouTube. We'll wrap up the show with best bets coming right up right after we hear from our other sponsors, Manscaped. Support for the Ice Guys is brought to you by Manscaped, our good friends at Manscaped, who are the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 7 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you, courtesy of the Ice Guys. Get 20% off of any purchase and free worldwide shipping with the promo code Ice Guys. That's promo code Ice Guys, all one word, ICEGUYS at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, that's about 400 million balls that you can help preserve with manscaped.com using the promo code Ice Guys. You get the Performance Package 4.0. It is a game changer. The Lawnmower 4.0. It takes care of this, among other things. It'll keep you trim as can be. The Lawnmower 4.0, waterproof. Same thing with the Weed Whacker, which takes care of your ear hair, nose hair. I mean, nose hair in particular. I'm getting up there in age, and nose hair is becoming definitely more of an issue. This will take care of it. It feels like someone's tickling the inside of your nostrils sometimes. It pisses the hell out of me. It bothers me. I need to take care of that shit. This will take care of it for you. The Weed Whacker makes part of the package that you get with your Manscaped purchase and the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. You also get the ball toner. You also get the ball deodorant, keep you smelling good and looking good and feeling good down in the nether regions. This package is really going to make you feel good and look good and look better, slim, trim. That's what it's all about. And manscaped.com can help you out with that. So make sure you take advantage of this. Manscaped.com. Get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code ICEGUYS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use the promo code ICEGUYS. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. All right, we are back here on the Ice Guys show, and courtesy of the Hockey Now folks, we also want to throw this out there. Caesars Sportsbook. Check it out. There it is, the URL on the, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on the podcast, it's Caesars.com/sportsbook-and-casino. You could just put in Caesars.com. It'll lead you to the sportsbook for Caesars as well. Promo code PITNOWFULL. Okay, that's all one word, PITTNOWFULL. So there you go. Sign up and get a bonus to your account with sign up with Caesars Sportsbook. And again, use the promo code PITNOWFULL. All right. Best bets now to wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys show. Jimmy, you can even go with a Saturday game if you want for a best bet, but what do you like most?
Yeah, well, I will. I'll go with the Winnipeg Jets there. I just think it's a great situational opportunity for them. So give me the Jets on the puck line. All
right, there you go. Winnipeg Jets -130 for Jimmy Murphy for Saturday against the Ottawa Senators for best bet. My best bet, it's going to come from one of the two games tonight, and it's going to be Colorado and Vancouver over 6.5, -125. Again, it's not really something that's overthinking it, overcomplicating it. I think I've cashed 3, 4, more than that, probably 5 in a row with Vancouver over the total. Back to the well tonight. They score goals, but they can't keep it out of the net. Colorado, Vancouver over 6.5, -125 for my best bet for this Friday card. All right, that'll wrap it up. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. Jimmy Murphy, great job on this Friday. We'll get him back next Friday as well on the show. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. And if you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Jimmy Murphy, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Friday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we'll be back tomorrow, noon Eastern, a huge 13 game, I think it is, NHL card on Hockey Day in Canada. We'll have our Saturday guest, Kevin Beach, back on the show with us once again as well. So join us for that tomorrow, Saturday, another edition of the Ice Guys presented by National Hockey Now.